everybody. Hi. This is Teosha Charles here, and my wonderful co-host Joseph.
Hey Tiasha, how are you?
I'm good, and we are here for Animation Station.
Yes, and thank you everyone for coming tuning in for us and listening wherever you are, whether if you're at the gym or driving home or you just need a little something to listen to as you're winding down from a long day. Thank you for stopping in and listening to the animation station.
Yes, thank you so much. We're so glad for you guys to. We're so happy for you guys to listen to us talk about cartoons and different types of animations. It's amazing.
hmm So today we were trying to decide on what to do and talk about, but one of the things that we decided to land on is since we've kind of done quite a few episodes here, there's always something that people always talk about is like what would introduce our friends and family to, or what should I kind of show someone if I'm trying to get them hooked on cartoons or anime, because there's a lot of adult animations out there, but some of them are kind of a little rocky with either profanity or nudity or some of the rating things you got to look out for. So
Right.
for us today, we're both going to pitch one of our favorites and something that we would show to friends or family, someone who's kind of uninformed, about the whole anime cartoon world, and what we would show them and introduce them to if we wanted to get them hooked or interested into the things that we like and love.
Exactly. And I can't wait to tell you mine because I know you guys are gonna love it.
All right. Well, since you're so eager to talk about it, how about you start us off today?
Of course, of course. My pick is a show that I used to watch as a kid all the time, and all my friends loved it. We used to want to be one of these characters so bad, and that is Codename Kids Next Door. It's an amazing show about these kids who basically want to protect kids all around the world from teenagers and adult tyranny. That's right, we have adults and teenagers who are also bad guys who basically want to tell kids and teach kids how to grow up and eat their vegetables and clean their rooms and stuff like that. And they make these weapons called Kids Next Door technology, and it's basically like weird type of technology, kind of like a bubblegum gun, or like it's like so amazing. Like they actually like built their own technology from like toys or candy or any type of stuff like that. And it's the best show ever.
So, I mean, it sounds like they just want to be like not adults.
Yes, basically. Oh,
Yeah.
but that's another thing though. When they're 13, they have this code to where when you're 13, you get dematerialized or de-aged or whatever. And it's where you're once you turn 13, they have this type of machine to where you basically lose all memory of the kids next door,
Mm.
and they
So,
just let you go.
you, you know, it was a funny thing. It kind of reminds me of like Peter Pan Neverland
Yes.
because, or maybe, it can also be used as a metaphor, kind of like similar to what that of the latest Mary Poppins Returns, how you kind of forget what it's like to be a kid. That was the whole thing about that movie, and that kind of what this show is like because you forget the kids next door, and pretty much you enter in adulthood almost. Well, 13's a little young for adulthood. You're a teenager. But also, when you're 13, I was guilty of this, and I'm sure a lot of people were, is that when you're a teenager, you always say how you're too old for things, or you're like, you're
Hmm.
too big for that, you're too grown. And then when you finally become an adult, you kind of make your way back to that, and you kind of realize how dumb that those things were. Because even now it's like, because you can look at teenagers and like they don't participate in Halloween, they're like, oh, that's kid stuff, trick-or-treating's for kid stuff. And now it's
Right.
like as an adult I love Halloween. Like, well, I always did, but it's taken on a different meaning. But you kind of understand what I'm saying, like, with people
Right.
collecting action figures, comic books, like you look back and things that you thought as a teenager were too childlike or kid-like, now as an adult you're like, you know what, I really enjoyed those things.
I know. I miss being a kid. You don't have to
Mm.
do anything. Like, but that's the thing though. Like in this show, me and my friends always wanted to be like these characters like number, which by the way, they go by numbers, they don't go by their
Mm-hmm.
names, they go by number one, number two, number three, so on and so forth. So you actually have freaking kids next door operatives, which that's what they're called, go literally all around the world. They have kids next door based in Japan, Africa. That was just another thing, another reason why I love this show, because they didn't just do it, oh, it's America. No, no, no. It's
Mm-hmm.
all around the world. And it's amazing. And they all, and when they have like a big meeting, they all meet on a place called the moon base. It's actually a kids next door base on the
Mm-hmm.
actual moon. And it's the most amazing thing ever.
So like in the show, this is a show that I never really watched because this was 2001. You said,
Yeah, came
yeah,
out. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it came out on July 20th, 2001.
yeah. So I'd never really actually watched the show, but I can probably watch it now
Yes, it's
because this
amazing.
actually sounds pretty funny and entertaining. The American cartoon. But so with this, how they got when they went to the moon, like was it like a teleporter kind of thing, or was it just,
Well,
or
this is
was
the
it
thing.
like kind of like a make believe, like were they just talking on the telephone and pretending that it was a moon base?
Well, actually, no, 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 no. They had an actual moon base, and they actually made their own spaceships from like either old cars or old school buses and stuff like that. And they also do have teleporters and holograms and stuff that they build with their own two hands. They also do have communication centers to where they actually talk back and forth to the commander and all that types of stuff. And it
Hmm.
is funny because their bases are usually tree houses. Cause you know how kids like to build their own little plays
Yeah.
or tree house or tents or whatever. They have their own tree houses and they're super amazing. It's,
Hmm.
oh my god, it's amazing. I want to show this to my cousins, and I know they're gonna freaking love it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my
That.
childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's kind of like the question of it, though. So like they're able to do like all these advanced things,
Yes.
and so like what happens? You said like they're by numbers. So
Hmm.
what happens when like the ones who started it turn like 13?
Then they get replaced with the new generation. Other
Okay.
word, yeah. Hmm.
So is one kind of like a title exactly, or did the numbers just keep going up and up?
Well, this is the thing. When they have like little kids like wanting to be kids next door operatives, because they start like when they're like 5 or 8 years old,
Yeah.
they they go through an initiation, and they go through like little tiny missions to see if they're actually able to be kids next door operatives. So they're
Mm-hmm.
like in training, and then when they actually graduate, they go in front of everybody, and they
Mm-hmm.
basically say to the computer what type of number that they want, and the computer will check to see if that number is available, or
Mm.
the computer will just give them a number.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So okay. So it kind of reminds me of I know it's kind of weird getting off topic here, but it's kind of like reminds me a little bit like Men in Black, how they
Yeah.
have the alphabet and that designates codes to them,
Hmm.
but like 007 or anything with a code
Right.
where that the code name always stays the same, but or even what's the one movie that I kind of remember? Oh, Kingsman. It's kind of getting off topic here, but Kingsman, how they have, they always have. If you haven't seen that movie, you know how it has like the Knights of the Round Table and the
Hmm.
name, Lancelot, Arthur, Merlin. Like
Right.
it's all a title, and so someone always takes up that mantle where the name, they get designated a name in training, but when they actually ascend to that mantle, it's like that's what they take on, that mantle, that identity, that code name. And that kind of reminds me of what's happening here with this show, where you have the main ones, the ones who started it, where it's like 1 through 10 or whoever were the founders, and those numbers are reserved for like the head people, and everyone else
Right.
kind of just gets a random number. But somebody who has the random number could take on the mantle of 1 or 3 or 4 or something.
Right.
That's actually kind of interesting. So, well, with this story, it's always about them trying to do stuff. But what are some of like the major plot points or conflicts or storyline or arcs that are happening in some of those in some of these episodes in the show because it looks like
Well,
it went on for quite a while.
7 years. It stopped in 2008, and then they had like a big giant movie after that.
Yeah. So what was like some of the conflict? Were there villains or was it like what was some of the conflicts and storylines that some
Well,
of the main characters were going through?
well, when it comes to this show, the main objective is to help kids all around the world, from adults, from evil villain adults and evil teenagers who
Mm,
help the adults basically ruin the kids' lives with like homework and stuff like that. I mean, there's homework, but like be fair about it. If you be
hmm.
fair to kids, the kids won't fight back, basically.
Yeah.
And you have villains that are you have villains actually called Night Brace, which by the way, Night Brace is actually an evil dentist who try to put braces on people and like trying to like make their teeth so shiny to where it blinds people.
Yeah.
Or you have another one named Sticky Beard who tries to steal everyone's candy and you can't have any candy, you're a kid and all that types of stuff. So
Mm.
like villains like that, it's freaking funny and crazy. Or you have the lunch lady, which by the way, her name is Grandma Stuffins, who makes the most disgusting food imaginable. And she tries to force feed it to you.
It's kind of funny because, like, I mean, as a kid, that's kind of how things look like to you, but it just
Hmm.
seems like to them, it's like these are caring adults who are trying to do good things for the kids. But you always know, like kids, they always say, like, eat your vegetables, eat fruits, don't drink so much pop or whatever. And then as a kid,
Oh,
you're hating them for it, and then they just seem like a villain to you because as you said, they ascend when they turn 13. So it just seems like all you want to do is just like eat sweets and
right,
eat junk food where the adults are trying to help them and teach them healthy habits. But to a kid,
right.
it's like, oh, you're a monster because like the dentist is an important person, but to a kid, they seem like I know so many people who are scared of the dentist because of all the whole like there's been horror movies about dentists. So
well, well, this is the thing. This one, Night Brace, actually got fired from his job because he tried to put braces on babies.
oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. Well, I
so
mean,
he's
if the baby's mouth is that bad,
no, I mean like babies, like they haven't even had teeth yet,
yeah,
type babies.
I know they're,
And
they're kind of exaggerating, but yeah.
yeah, that was like, what the heck kind of villain is this? Or you have the freaking Tolinator, who was like the lowest of the freaking villains. Like people don't even care about the Tolinator. He's like literally like a toilet paper guy that wraps you up and like probably like hangs you with his toilet paper or something. But the biggest villain is this guy named Father.
Hmm.
And he has these, who by the way is like this black fire, like his body is literally like black and red with like sorry, with yellow eyes. And he has like a little pipe he's smoking from.
Hmm.
So
Very, very adult.
yes, he's like the head of the villain, like the number one villain.
Yeah.
And his kids finding out are not really his kids, but he adopted them. It's called The Delightful Children from Down the Lane. And the way they talk is all in sync. It's five of them, and they talk in sync. So it's like, we are the delightful children from down the lane. Like, it's so creepy.
Hmm. Yeah.
But when you mentioned about the soda pop and the eating your vegetables, finding out eating your vegetables kind of makes you more responsible. Other
Yeah.
words, like for example, there's one episode where number four accidentally eats either spinach or broccoli or whatever, and he slowly like wants to clean his room suddenly
Mm.
or wants to do something responsible.
Yeah. He's acting like a member of society, a productive
Exactly.
productive member of society.
Or like, and also there's a rule. Well, at least they're trying to make a rule. It's a rule
Uh-huh.
where kids cannot have soda until they're a teenager.
Mm.
So like so basically they have like teenagers and adults like trying to find kids who's drinking a soda because apparently it's like against the rules or whatever. But of course,
Hmm.
kids next door, they're gonna break it anyway
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they feel like it's not fair. So
Hmm.
especially if we do our homework and listen to our parents, and yet you have, now mind you, not all adults are bad guys. You have some who are
Hmm.
actually good and who wants to help kids,
Yeah.
but then you have those who are like evil villains and stuff like that who hate kids and think they're annoying and want to shut them up and just put them in their room, do your homework, be busy, don't bother me. Like you have those type of evil adults. Same thing with teenagers who apparently some of them who, by the way, if they would never know, they would never know if some of these teenagers that we see are actually used to be kids next door operatives. They would never know.
Hmm.
Well, except for one, and that's number five sister named Cree Summer, which, by the way, number five, which is my favorite character,
Hmm.
is named Abigail Summer. And
Okay.
her sister did not get dematerialized. So she has all her kids next door memories, and they're trying to get her, but she's very skilled. So it's actually very hard.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I love this show.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it has like a lot of deep meanings and a lot of metaphors. A lot of metaphors in this about growing up and being becoming an adult and going from children to being a teenager to being an adult and all these other things, and also how when you kind of move on, like with the whole 13 thing, but also you can kind of see that as a metaphor too, as how they forget. And as
Right.
I discussed earlier, how when you kind of become a teenager, you kind of forget to be a kid because I mean, we're all guilty of it. When you're a teenager, you're kind of concerned about, I mean, your appearance and popularity, I guess, like you're looking for a place to fit in and some of the thing. And you kind of get trapped in that whole thing of like, oh, that's for babies or that's kid stuff. Like you hear people say that teenagers like, oh, that's kid stuff. Like, so like I'm 13, I'm grown, or like I'm 15,
Right.
I'm grown, thinking of, you're all that at like 16 or 17, even though you don't know Jack.
Right.
But people go through those things. It's normal for someone who thinks that they're older or a big deal. I remember going from like eighth grade to ninth grade. It's like such a big deal, and you try to like have this change or a feeling of adulthood or grownness about you, but you really don't. Nothing happens over a summer. Um,
Right.
but it sounds like there's a lot of metaphors and there's a lot of deeper meaning
A lot.
behind everything, because like the little kids, their tree houses and their clubhouses and their little places to group together, and like, oh, we have to stop everyone, and then they see everybody as villains, which they kind of are, but then again it's all like, well, they're trying to help you. They're trying to you
Well,
know
some of them are.
some of them are like they're trying to help you move forward, because like you see vegetables as monsters, or the whole thing with the dentist, and that's kind of funny, and the beard guy, the sticky beard, trying to take the candy away. It's like, well, he's just trying to make sure you don't
Oh,
just
no,
eat
no.
candy. But I know, I know,
Well,
I know, but I'm saying, like, I can see how a kid can perceive that as like, this
right.
guy's trying to take my candy. It's like, no, he just doesn't want you overeating and getting sick from eating so
Right.
much candy. But um jeez, it's just kind of funny.
The lunch lady, the when she's like starts throwing the like different like food at the kids, they actually move around and try to force it. Like they actually, the food actually walks and talks and tries to literally stuff themselves down your throat. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, oh my god! And the only person that can actually um who can actually eat it and like it's fine, like he doesn't care, he actually thinks it's tasty, is number two. Which, by
Hmm.
the way, his name, I think his name is Hoagie, Hoagie Gilligan,
Yeah.
and he's by the way, he's a smart guy in the team.
Mm.
He's yeah, he's like this. He's the one that can build anything.
Well, it sounds like they're all pretty smart if they're all flying out into space and no one shoots them down.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about actually building
Yeah.
it. Like they can fly it and stuff like that, but actually building anything out of
I know.
nothing.
These kids are astronauts and flying back into our, like, they're all astronauts from the sounds of it,
Right.
because it sounds like they're all legitimately going to the moon, which is kind
Yeah.
of kind of messed up when you stop and think about it. Like, these kids would be picked up from like NASA and be like, you guys are all have like an IQ of 150. So
Oh, that's another episode of NASA.
really?
Yeah, because they didn't want the adults to see their moon base or know that there's a base on the moon.
Yeah.
So they actually pretended. Well, they actually made them think that they were on the moon by putting a video of the first man on the moon, and made him think that he was on the moon. So, in other words, made like a fake moon, or at least like a hologram of the moon, to where
Yeah,
he can
yeah, yeah.
actually stand on it,
Uh-huh.
and made NASA actually think that they were on the moon.
Jesus.
Because, like I said, they don't want the adults to
Hmm.
know that their moon base is actually on the moon. So
Yeah.
they faked the moon landing, which is actually kind of funny if you think about it.
Yeah, because there's that conspiracy.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, that's something amongst conspiracy theorists. They're like, we never went to the moon. It was all televised. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. And then some people argue that we did, and then there's people like me who's like, I really don't care.
Right.
But
But
uh,
yeah, this show, oh my gosh, this was my childhood. Heck
yeah,
yeah. And when I actually hit 13, I was like, oh my god, no.
yeah, it's like I'm gonna forget.
Oh gosh. But yeah, this show I would definitely recommend to my family, friends.
Mm.
Come on, it's freaking amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because like now that you're older and watching it again as an adult, you kind of see like the deeper hidden meanings behind it,
Mhm.
and it's very American with the weird exaggerated body shapes and the simple just the dot for the eyes and the basic mouths.
The big giant feet.
Yeah, yeah,
Big
very very
heads.
yeah, very very typical American stylized cartoons. Similar to the WB or Warner Brothers, like we
Right.
normally have Alpha Maniacs and all them.
Oh my god.
But it definitely sounds interesting. I definitely need to give it a look over.
Yes, definitely. Well, right. I want to hear about your pick.
Yeah, so we kind of we've discussed it a few times on the show already, and probably if you are watching this show, listening to this show, and thank you again if you are, you will probably already know about this show, and that is Hero Academia.
Yes.
Um, it's pretty crazy just how much the show has taken off. It is a phenomenon, and like everyone who the only reason why I recommend this one is because, well, one, it's just adding more people to the bandwagon, but there's people who I know who don't really care about anime, who really don't like it at all, or just who kind of have a negative outlook on those kinds of things, but yet they are attracted to Hero Academia. Like they gave it a chance. They caught an episode or saw it, and they're like, or the curiosity got the best of them because they see it everywhere, and they're like, "What is
Hmm.
this? What is all this?" And they kind of like check it out, and then they get hooked. Or maybe there's someone who looks at adult animation on Hulu, and then that ended up in their queue, and they're like, "What's this?" you know,
Right.
because you can get it on Hulu or Crunchyroll or Funimation, any of those networks, but
Right.
definitely on Hulu. That's how I normally watch it, or I stream it online. But now with the fourth season coming out, and the three seasons dubbed on Hulu, I usually just put it on. I put it
Right.
on and I just watch it. I'll have it on in the background, or whenever I feel like watching a specific episode or a specific scene, I'll just put it on. But one of the main reasons why I gotta recommend this to people is mainly because it's just such a good story. It is a really good story, and the character development for not just the main character, but just like all the secondary characters as well, even the
Right.
tertiary characters, like they all get a moment of spotlight. The voice acting's great, and the one thing I hear from people who watch it is that they always say it's like I can listen to the openings. It's like I love the openings, like the songs. Like
Right.
that's one of the things that makes the show really popular, I think, or what hooks a lot of people is the
Hmm.
opening or the credit closing songs.
Right.
Because I'll listen to them. I'll listen to them on YouTube, like the full songs, and just have it playing. Like "You Say Run," which is like the big uh song of the show
Hmm.
whenever they're fighting, or like, that big moment when All Might's like powering up. Like I listen to that
Yeah.
like when I'm on the treadmill or something, or whenever I need to get pumped up, because it's just so good. Like the score for the show is just really great, and I think that's part of it too. And that kind of shows how much work and effort just goes into the show, and the artwork is amazing as well.
It is.
It's kind of funny because it has like this mixture of like the realism and 3D
Hmm. Yep.
animations, but also every once in a while they'll add like this kind of cartoonic comic book look to it. Like there'll be moments where, like in the season 2, when they're at the sports festival, when they're doing the good example is when they're doing the horse race thing with the headbands, the scoring headbands, and Bakugo,
Yeah.
he's hitting um, Kirishima, the Red Riot, the kid with the red hair, the hardening quirk. He's sitting there
Yeah.
hitting him on the head, and then you're seeing bonk, like the words bonk
Yeah.
on his head as he's hitting them. So it adds like there's this kind of almost like yeah, comic booky or like superhero Western animations there, where like there's stuff that's happening or something hits and you hear like a boing or the bonk, where you actually see the words, similar to that of like this Into the Spider-Verse, for any of our listeners who watched that movie, how you see like the actual words
Yeah.
for the sound effects, like that. You see that every once in a while in Hero Academia, and that's what's kind of funny. There's all these kind of mixtures of things, and I gotta say, like, some of their faces are actually pretty hilarious. Like they get that over exaggerated thing, which kind of reminds me of like some of the Western cartoons, where they have like these crazy exaggerated faces to
Right.
express those emotions that they have, and it's just kind of hilarious.
Wow.
But I'm
Yeah.
really excited for season 4. But
Me too.
yeah, it's coming around. But it dropped in 2014 is when like it first started.
Right.
The creator of Hero Academia. Yeah, I think it was in the summer of 2014,
And it blew up.
and it's lightning in a bottle, and it's just one of those things because it's in its fourth season, and there's very few shows, like there's not very many that get a second season.
Right.
It's common in manga and anime. Like there's always a ton of books. There's a lot of mangas out there or light novels, and a lot of them get like one season. There's a
Right.
lot of times where I've watched a show and it ends on a cliffhanger, or it ends with this notion that there's going to be a second season, and it never happens,
Right.
or it doesn't, or it happens again from like very demanding fans. Like one man punch is a good example of that, where I think it's been like 5 years or 6 years, and the second season just wrapped up, but it's been like over 5, almost 6 years, I think, since the first
Wow.
season. It's been a while. It's been a minute, and just by popular demand, like they actually finally got around to it. Maybe, I don't know, I could be exaggerating. It could have been just funding or the studio or whatever, rights for stuff, or it could have been anything. But I just know it took a long time. And like everybody was like, when if they finally came out with it, like everybody was just like hyped because everybody loved like the first season because it was cool.
Right.
But this with Hero Academia, you know, they've just been busting out seasons every year like clockwork. Like the first season happened, and then just like they immediately started working on the second because they knew they had something great. Like it's like, holy crap, like people love this, and we've got so much money.
Right.
But one of the things I say this a lot about it is just it's just very captivating, except for the first 2 episodes. That is the only thing I'll give it to, is that the pilot and the second episode are a little rough for me, because in the first and second episode, Deku or Izuku,
Or
he
Midoriya.
Midoriya. Well, Izuku Midoriya is his name, but like
Right.
Deku is his nickname, and it's kind of messed up because like you know in the dub versions and the English versions, like they always mix it up. Like they either call him Midoriya or Izuku, They call him by like three different names,
Right.
depending on the character who's talking to him. But he's really hard to like in the first two episodes because he just seems like a crybaby. He seems like a whiner. He seems like a wimp, a wuss,
Right.
and it's just really hard to like I can only imagine what it was like for the voice actor because he did a really great job
He
of like
did.
of really just showing how he Justin Brenner, the guy who does the English version uh, of Midoriya. He did a really good job because he just sounds like a whiny, like he's just whining and crying because he does. He
Right.
cries, whines in the first two episodes, and then he
Worries like crazy.
yeah, and then he starts manning up a little bit, in the episodes, really starts taking off. So I usually tell people when I introduce them to the shows, like if you can get past the first two episodes, you're gonna be good.
Yeah.
Like give the first don't like give it two episodes or watch get to the third episode, and if you still don't want to watch it after the third episode, then that's fine.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna waste your time with the full season, but the first season finale is like, oh my gosh, and that's something else too. The fight scenes in this show are just amazing.
Oh my
Like
God. Yes.
because they're not because a lot of times in some of these action animes you can kind of see where they kind of I don't want to say they cut corners
Hmm.
but they kind of go easy on some of the details like of the actual character because they're moving so fast or they're doing things like so quick that you can kind of see where they kind of like they're like okay we don't have to put in all this crazy detail for the character because like they're not even going to see it.
Right.
So they just kind of lighten the detail a little bit, or
Mm.
they kind of simplify it in a way where they don't need to put in a lot of detail. But in Hero, you can see that they put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and the whole thing just isn't rushed. Like the cinematography of the action scenes and the just the way the choreography is because they have superpowers, so you really have to implement how their powers are working and how they do things with their superpowers to see it actually work. And it's
Right.
just really inventive how the choreography as well as cinematography is with the fight scenes and also the special effects too as well.
Almost definitely the special effects. Oh my God. I love when they like crash into the buildings. It's so amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, you can tell some of it's drawn, but there's a lot of 3D animation in it too, especially in this last season, in the third season, since obviously they've gotten a little bit more money now. I mean, I mean, you can tell a difference if you watch the first. I mean, they've done a really great job, but if you watch the first, second, and third seasons, you can see the amount of production value and production resources that have gone in because I really you don't really see as much in the first season with
Right.
like the special effects and the 3D as much, but you definitely see it more and more as in the later seasons, and mostly because you have to because the character with the power ups and the giant escalades that they're able to do, but
Right.
mostly because the financial resources are there where the studio's probably grown or they have a lot more people working on the production of the show.
Yeah. I actually like this show. I like this show a
Yeah,
lot. The
and
freaking
sorry, go ahead.
I was just sorry. I was just gonna tell you about the character development. I freaking love all the characters. Like they
Hmm.
got it on the point.
Hmm.
Like
Well,
each and every one.
yeah, everyone's got a following.
Mhm.
All the characters they have a following. Being someone who goes to conventions, comic book conventions, anime conventions, these characters just go. I just see them everywhere, on Instagram.
Right.
Just so many people are cosplaying and dressing up as these characters. Even people who aren't really into it, they'll be wearing like a T-shirt or something to show their and say like how much they like the character. Like everyone has a fan base, everyone has a following, and it's kind of neat because yes, it's true that these characters have like their archetypes, I guess you can say, or they fill a certain checkbox or whatever. But they're not so one dimensional. Like these characters are very complex. They're like normal people, and you see them kind of have like these highs and lows.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like Shoto
Mm.
Toreoki.
Yeah, yeah, and you get a thing about him and his background, and it's kind of neat because you see these characters in their background, and then eventually they'll get their time in the spotlight.
Right.
So it's kind of neat. But I was curious to ask you, as far as like if you were going to pitch this to somebody, like what would be some of the things that you would say?
I really don't know. Like first I'll like well first I would ask them what type of anime do they like. And I know like a lot of my family members actually do like fighting anime like Dragon Ball Z. So
Hmm.
I think they would like this. And then after that I would actually show them like clips of fighting scenes and slowly bring them in with everything else.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I think they would like this though. Most definitely.
Hmm. Because I mean, there's like this, because it's kind of neat because it shows it's a superhero society. So the aspect they deal with a lot of conflicts, a lot of emotional conflicts, and they talk about a lot about society and how people would react to certain things. Like there's a lot
Right.
of because I mean we see it all the time, especially what's happening now in politics, how society is reacting to certain events. You see how in this world that this world takes place in, it's like in the future, I guess you can say. And this is what attracted me so much to this one is that I was a big fan of X-Men growing up, and how humans were evolving and everyone was getting a superpower. So it wasn't like, like DC, how you had like Batman, Superman, Flash. Everyone got superpowers from either from aliens or some lab experiment gone wrong.
Right.
But with X-Men, their storylines, it was a mutation. It was a genetic mutation, and we're just evolving. And as we evolved as a rate, as a species, we develop superpowers, and it's slowly becoming common. And then you see how the society splinters. And in this, you kind of see people have made the parallel that, well, maybe this is like far into the future, and humans have evolved, which it kind of does
Hmm.
say that's kind of like in the pilot, how humanity is starting to evolve, and eventually, people turn into superheroes. And the term hero, occupation, heroes an occupation in this world, and they're kind of like freelance. I want to call as you say the term. They're like legalized vigilantes in a way.
Pretty much.
That's what they are. They're legalized vigilantes with a license. To where they're not part of the police, they're not part of firefighters, even though they still have them. And people with superpowers or quirks, as they're used in this show, work for the police force, work for firefighters, so work for the military, so on and so forth. But with them being like freelance vigilantes, it seems like society moved past, I guess, that diversity of people not having abilities, and some do. So even
Right.
though even though the main character, he doesn't have a superpower or a quirk, as they say. So it seems,
Not born and raised type of quirk. I mean, he has a
yeah,
quirk now, but
yeah, yeah. But it seems like now it's like the reverse prejudice in this world, that people without it are looked down upon, where people who do have it are on top. So it seems like things are reversed, and someone who watched X-Men or is a fan of the X-Men or familiar with the X-Men.
well, are they really looked down upon if you don't have a quirk? I mean, it's
Well, I mean,
basically
you see how the main character is treated in the pilot.
well, that's because of Bakugo. We all know how Bakugo is.
Yeah, but I mean, but also the whole class too used to laugh at him because he said his dream was to be a hero, and the whole entire class, even his teacher, laughed at him in the
Hmm.
first episode. So, because I guess it's just like, I don't know, second class citizens, I guess, because, I don't know. I guess because when you're not, because they're minorities, and minorities, no matter in any common sense, kind of get mistreated.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, if I it's very very well written. The score, everything about it is just great, and also it's for all ages.
Right.
There's no profanity in it. There's no like there's I would say there's some innuendos. Uh, some like I don't know.
What was his name?
There's
Oh
some
my god.
romantic things happening, but nothing like too crazy. Like it's pretty innocent. I'm not gonna
That
lie.
I remember his name now, Manetta. That freaking ball on the head.
Yeah,
Pervert.
yeah, he is incredibly short.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, he is so tiny. He's got to be like at least 4 feet tall. And I mean, I don't know if it is true about him, but I heard someone say that like, he skips a grade. Like the reason why he's so small is because he's like really young, and he skipped like a few grades. But that doesn't make. I mean, that kind of doesn't make sense to me because he doesn't do that well in the classes. So I think he's just really really short.
Well, wait. He probably not doing well when it comes to the hero stuff, but who knows? He could be like really good when it comes to like grades, right? Like when it comes to like math
Maybe.
yeah, because I can see that when it comes to the the hero stuff, he's not good at. But we don't know about the
Yeah.
academic.
Yeah. And but the funny thing is that I usually forget about this that in this series as it is right now that they're first years, so they're freshmen, so they're
Right,
like 14, 15 years old, which is kind of crazy
right.
because the way they draw these characters, some of them, not all of them, but like especially someone like Bakugo, for example, or even Shoto, like they're like pretty muscular, and I admit at 14, 15, some kids can be pretty muscular and pretty fit,
hmm
but some of them are just like way too developed.
It's in the
It's
food.
yeah,
It's in the It's in the water.
I guess, because like sometimes it's hard to remember sometimes because a lot of things about anime, a lot of majority of them take place in some sort of academy or high school,
hmm
and like these people are 15, 16 years old. And it's hard to remember like some of these things that they go through. I'm like this, like there's no way I would be able to handle these things at 15 years old. Like I would need some serious therapy.
Well, remember Midoriya's mom was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you
Yeah,
sure?
yeah, yeah.
We can go to
Which
a different school."
she's one of my favorite moms.
Same.
Yeah, and that's something too is just like I like how her character design is because she's
hmm
not your typical anime mom who's like 30 and hot.
Right.
Like the way they sometimes when they and that's something else too is like they never have parents in animes.
I know, and they're slowly showing everybody's parents. Like I
Yeah.
literally, I was looking at Uraraka's parents, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, yeah, because I mean and that's something that's different from this one too is that they actually show their parents and they show their home life.
Right.
But and that's another stereotype that I like that it disproves because in a lot of like I said in a lot of animes, a lot of kids like live alone, like they live by themselves. They're in high school and they live by themselves because either like
Right.
their parents are dead or their parents have like these crazy careers to where they travel for work or they work overseas or something, so they live their kids alone in their house in an empty house forever.
Or their own apartment, and they're like
Yeah,
paying it
like or
off.
or they
Like,
or okay, they live abroad.
right.
They go to school abroad somewhere, and that's usually like the futuristic ones where they have like this crazy academy that's like on a ship or in their own private city or something. Like a lot of them
Right.
are victim to that stereotype or simple plot device. It's like, oh, let's have this kid go to a special academy that costs like $1 million per semester, and they have their own room in their own city or something.
Right.
Yeah, I've watched plenty of shows like that. But yeah, which eliminates the whole thing of where the only adults are teachers and they're all like 25 or
Right.
something. and supermodels. But with the teachers, like in Hero Academia, they're like working professionals.
Right.
They have like real world experience where I guess that you can say they're retired. I guess maybe I don't know. Some of
Uh,
them are, some of them aren't, because there's some. The finale in the first season just really shows because it shows more of the heroes and the sports festival in the second season. Like you see just how wide and how many people are in this profession and just like what they can do and all the different types of powers out there and like
right.
how they can do things. So it's actually pretty cool.
Like you see a lot of them like in the audience who have like different quirk. Like
Hmm.
yeah, like
Their costumes are ridiculous.
But it's like funny though because like some of them are not heroes, but some of them actually help the city. Like you have one who can do concrete or some type of like barrier walls or whatever that help like with construction. And you got some who's like super smart who can actually lift things like with their minds. Like they help in the city, but they're not like heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like they just have a normal job, but their powers and abilities allow them to do it better. So it makes you
Right.
wonder just like how much like technology as far as if it kind of slows down. Because that was something that I had a discussion once with somebody is that, well, maybe with the advancement of abilities, technology slows because we use technology to make up for our own inabilities to do things.
Right.
So if we're able to do stuff ourselves, then technology wouldn't be that big of a deal. But we're getting off topic. But yeah, it's for any of our listeners or anyone who stumbles across this show. It's something really great, and it's to build the fandom even more to help the phenomenon grow. It's something I would really recommend for anybody because it's just really great on all different levels. And I would admit that it kind of will anything that you watch afterwards will kind of it's setting a high bar, this show, as far as
Yes.
the amount of quality. You know, it's kind of like watching like an Emmy awarded show, an Oscar movie, and then you kind of watch some of the other stuff. You're like, wow, this is really bad. It's like, no, it's not. It's okay. You just started off really on a high point at first.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a really good show though.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Mm. I can't recommend it enough. And there's plenty to binge.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
All right, everyone.
Well,
Well, that's. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
oh no, I was saying the same thing. I was gonna say, yep, guys. Well, I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah, and those are our two recommendations for if you want to introduce your friends to some good shows and cartoons and anime. We got both things that are happening for right now, and a little something that went on, quite a while ago. But it's always good to watch some of the classics.
That's right. I love this. I love both shows. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
That's right. This has been Animation Station. Bye bye. Hey guys, it's Teosha Charles here from Animation Station. Just wanted to talk to you guys about our wonderful company, Elite 23 Global, which is a creative place for creative minds. We have a wonderful board of branches, which is fashion, media, and even gaming. We have a team of creative minds coming together to make projects we always wanted to start, like this one. Also, come check out our clothing store called Elite 23 Shopping to check out the hottest and even cutest styles. If you want something new, come to Elite 23 Shopping. See you guys later. Bye!